I'm Richie and welcome to Helix Cloud Games, and this is SideQuest, a show where we take a step off the critical path and explore more what the video game world has to offer. On this week's show, I'm joined by the host of the Sound Stadia podcast, Mr. Chris.
Hello, exclusive Stadia gamers.
And, well, as Chris has just alluded to, today we're going to be talking about Stadia's exclusive titles. But first, some housekeeping. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great content goes live, such as the Sound Stadia podcast, which Chris is currently drinking out of a Sound Stadia podcast mug.
Very retro mug at this point.
It is. That's the old logo. We're going to have to get some new mugs made. Where was I? Podcast Mondays, YouTube, podcast services. You know what? By this point, if you're 41 episodes into watching SideQuest and you don't know that we have the Sound Stadia podcast as a thing, it's like, okay, that's
do you think there's people out there who know SideQuest exists but do not know we have a Stadia weekly podcast?
I highly doubt it, considering every single week since the start of the show, it's been like the first item in the housekeeping is a Sound Stadia podcast. Unless you just don't listen to the actual podcast and just put it on for the... I like the voices. Yeah. We also have a Thursday night live stream where we play everything from things like Avengers. Most recently, we've played Dirt. We've played a bit of PUBG as well.
PUBG.
I was trying to remember what the last thing we played, and it's like, for a few others out there while I stall.
PUBG. And exclusive games.
Yes, exclusive games. Some of the exclusive games we did play on a live stream, which we'll get into in a bit. If you want to support us even further, you can for as little as 99p, which gives you early access to SideQuest. So rather than get on a Friday morning, you get it on the previous Sunday as soon as I'm done editing. If you've got a topic you want us to discuss, or just generally have a good laugh with some like-minded people, you can head over to our Discord. Links are found in the description. So, Chris, the first thing I want to know is, how do you take your tea?
How do I take my tea?
Yeah, because we both actually have a cup of tea for a change.
We do, because it's winter and it's cold. Yeah. I used to have sugar in mine, but as we know from the podcast, trying to cut back on sugar, so I'm just on milk and tea for me.
Just straight up English breakfast. What brand are you going with?
PG Tips.
Oh, you're a PG Tips man. I'm more of a Yorkshire tea guy.
I mean, I drink them both. I don't really
me too.
I don't have like a die-hard.
I don't think I've ever A and B'd them, so I don't think I've ever like side by side went, this is good. I've just kind of went for.
Although the ones when I go to like work events or like just things that have like breakfast, when you go to a breakfast buffet and they've got different varieties, all the ones with the little flavors and stuff, the ones with the really silly tea bags that don't actually let the tea drain into the drink, like, you know, when you leave the bag in for like 10 minutes, you take it out and the tea still. It's not even opaque. You can still see the bottom of the cup. Why? Just make a better tea bag. But either way,
I don't think I've experienced that many, but I don't stay in hotels as much as you do.
Yeah, I think they're trying to be fancy, but they just ruin it.
I do like a fruity tea, I must admit. I do like a peppermint tea. Peppermint tea is good. But I'm on the decaf Yorkshire tea. And this one is actually vanilla and nutmeg. It's a bedtime tea, apparently.
Wow. Oh, well, night-night, everyone.
Yeah. So if I fall asleep during the show, you know why. So let's talk about. Let's start with the newest, the newest exclusive title to come to Stadia. In fact, at the time of recording, it's the newest title to come to Stadia. Full stop. It was announced by Mark Hamill at Thunderful's recent press conference, and you've played it, Chris. Tell us a bit about Wavetale.
I have. I've played it extensively. So I guess in this side quest, we wanted to highlight a little bit more focus on Stadia's exclusive games, because we know a lot of people say exclusive matter to platforms, and then they're not wrong. They totally do. If you just look at like Sony's catalog portfolio and all the graft Microsoft have put in to get exclusives, and we know Nintendo are literally propped up by their amazing exclusives that they get. And yeah, it just got us thinking a little bit this week about Stadia and the way their direction are going. And they generally, at this moment in time, have, to our knowledge, 8 exclusive titles still on the platform that you cannot play anywhere else. Maybe on PC for 1 or 2 of them, but let's keep console.
The 8 we're looking at, you can't play anywhere else. However, some have been announced that they might be coming to other platforms.
Wavetale, announced by Mark Hamill this past Thursday, part of Thunderful, made by Zoink Games. And we presume this was part of the deal they struck with Stadia way back when they announced a game with Harmonix, a game with Splash Damage, which we will get onto their game in a short while as well. And yeah, we've got Wavetale, beautiful game, skating on the seas as a young girl in a very artistic style game with a net for great. We said it in the podcast, but great traversal, interesting villains, interesting concept. But yeah, the traversal of the characters hands down did this for me. I've played about 2 to 3 hours worth of it now at this point, and if you've not checked it out yet, it's a pro game for November. Highly recommend it. I don't want to get into any kind of spoiler territory with it, but as far as exclusives go, it's one of my favourites that we've got on the platform right now, and yeah, I thoroughly recommend it to those who haven't checked it out already.
Not bad. As you mentioned, it's made by Thunderful, but the game description is: unravel the past, save the islanders from mysterious sea monsters, and discover secrets hidden under the surface. Explore an open sea and the decaying archipelago of Strandville in Wavetale, a story-driven action-adventure game introducing you to fed-up fishermen, secretive hermits, and maybe a pirate or two.
Haven't met any pirates yet.
Well, there's only two. There's probably only one or two of them, so
just say
go by the description. I don't know why. I kind of put a bit of a voice on when I read that. I don't know why I did that.
It's because it's in italics.
Yeah,
in the doc, so you immediately think I have to approach this differently.
I mean, I put it in italics just so it's like easier to read, but all right. So you're definitely all about Wavetale?
Yeah, Wavetale's terrific. Definitely recommend it. I know we're probably not going to rank them as such because I don't think we've played enough of each game to really give it its due. And
we don't really rank things.
Yeah,
here we just kind of explore them in the individual merits and go, if you like the sound of there it's there for you.
I definitely hold Wavetale higher than some others, so as we get into them, they'll start to probably naturally rise and fall to where you would expect them to be, and I'm sure the audience probably agrees to some degree. But
the more I hear you talk about Wavetale, the more excited I am to play, because I haven't played it, and I haven't even watched our own first look, because we do have a first look on it. Chris, you got that pretty sharp, it's pretty much as soon as it was announced.
The game looked interesting, so I wanted to jump into it and get hands-on.
But I actually found out about Wavetale when my phone goes off and there's a Helix Cloud Games first look on this game, because I hadn't seen the Thunderful press conference. Like, that was like
very surreal. I didn't tell you I was doing the first look. I was just like,
we hadn't talked about it. It's like, we got new content incoming. I didn't know about that. Didn't know about this game. Okay.
And that's why people should click that bell.
Yeah,
and subscribe so you get notified.
Because even I get notified about content on my channel sometimes.
Yeah, but Wavetale, definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend check it out, especially whilst it's free this month.
But yeah, I mean, I must admit, when we talk about exclusives in general, exclusives are the main reason why I've never bought an Xbox. And it's because when I've at several points I've had to make a decision: do I go buy an Xbox or do I buy a PlayStation? And when I think you can like kind of look at the different specs of them, they're largely in the same ballpark. You're not going to get hugely different performance out of either of them. A little bit here and there, but you're not going to have a bad experience with either of them as a platform. But Sony's, I think, have always had exclusives that appealed more to me.
Yeah, we won't go down the rabbit hole of their exclusives, but it's completely the same. Like, everyone has to make that decision with either their own money or their parents' money, or even just conversation with your friends. And yeah, there's certain games that do kind of control the narrative with the type of gamer you are, the type of things that you're into, and just naturally, as I moved from Sega across to PlayStation, it was titles like Crash Bandicoot and stuff which brought me in, and Spyro the Dragon and such. And then naturally, that made sense to just get a PlayStation 2, which had those games sequels on, but then it had more so. It was a DVD player as well. So it was the tech that kind of helped make that decision. And then it just kind of naturally put me in that camp. And now with even last gen with the PS4, they doubled down on exclusive content, and it very much leans into the gamer that I've grown up to be. And yeah, it does matter. It is important. And the list that Stadia have kind of collated here is they'll appeal to specific types of people, so it's whether you're that type of gamer or not. But there's definitely a case where they do matter.
Yeah, well, for me, I actually think for Stadia or platforms like it, GeForce Now, Luna, I think because there's no real investment to get into the platform, I think exclusives matter less. because you're not debating which £500 box you want to buy.
Yeah,
and that's where I think the exclusivity comes important. Like, which one of these is going to be better value for my time?
Yeah. Well, like
anyway.
Realistically, the tech's beautiful across the board. Like games are gorgeous and they're better than they've ever been. But you're completely right. Like one of the reasons I've never really looked at Xbox is because I missed out on the Halo wave, whenever that was, because we were in college and I don't know. I guess I had other interests. Maybe I was a lapsed gamer at that time. But then the reality is, Call of Duty. I had my PlayStation already, so I played it on there. The whole like Fortnite wave, like it depends on where you are and where your friends are. And for the longest of time, for like the entire last gen, like Xbox didn't have that. And obviously they've done massive, like millions and millions of dollars, billions probably worth of investment to do that. And now they're starting to reap the benefits with the likes of Forza and Psychonauts reviewing really, really well, whatever Bethesda's got in the pipeline. But I think you're completely right. That decision is made all the more easier when you don't have to drop £300, £400 on a new piece of hardware. This cloud gaming is just log in and play what we've got for you. So yeah, what's our second game?
Our second game is a little game. We did a live stream on this until I think this is one where our internet really died on us halfway through the stream, unfortunately. But this is Hello Engineer. So Hello Engineer is a multiplayer machinery building construction game set in the Hello Neighbor universe. Scavenge, craft and overcome challenges in the sandbox world of a mysterious amusement park. Put together incredible machines built of scrap and beware of the neighbor.
Beware of the neighbor. We never met the neighbor during our live stream.
Didn't. This is why I kind of alluded to. We had some internet issues, which you've now screamed at Virgin Media about a couple of times, I believe.
But we did play it for well over an hour, and we got into the sandbox design style and crafting, and is it out of early access now? Is it still in early access?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's in one of those places, but for the time when we did play it,
it was in early access.
It was in
early access when we played it.
Yeah, I feel like there was an announcement that said it's out of early access now, like 2 weeks ago or something, I want to say. But in terms of the game itself, it's a kind of crafting, build-it-yourself game, solve puzzles. You essentially create some kind of vehicle to get from A to B with a team of up to 4 people if you want to, all co-op online. And my guess is as the game progresses, you'll get into the theme park, which is where the game's based, and you'll meet the scary neighbor from this connected neighbor universe. And he'll hunt you down, he'll break your machines and steal your parts or whatever he needs to do. Quite difficult learning curve on this game, we both found.
Yeah, I think sometimes that we approach it a bit too much like a game, so you expect everything to be like handed to you, but then it is a game that does require a bit of critical thinking. You have to kind of think your way through the problems, and when you start thinking like that, I found things started to click into place almost. Thinking how to like rotate and maneuver certain pieces was a bit clunky, but once I kind of got okay, this is how you do that, I think things started really picking up.
Yeah, I think I'd echo that as well. Like we did end up really enjoying it once we got into the thick of it and we started to learn the trade. Not one for me long term. I think we both said that during the stream. Like it was just there's something missing about it. Like the concept of the game is more, I'd say, creator than it is anything to do with the other Hello games. I think this neighbor games
could be good though if you've got a kid and you want to play a game with them, because I think there's a bit of educational element about it. Not that it's going to teach you about anything in particular, but teaching you how to think about to problem solve. So we need to make this vehicle that can get over this ramp, or okay, we've got some tires in the road and there's gaps between them. So we need to make the vehicle in a way so that it can go pass over that obstacle. Yeah. There's little things about that sort of critical thinking. So I think there's a decent game in there.
Certainly is. Yeah. Wouldn't recommend it over Wavetale though, from what I've played of the two of them.
I haven't played Wavetale yet, but I kind of feel like Wavetale will be more up my alley. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Pixel Junk Raiders from Q Games. Pixel Junk Raiders is the latest creation from the folks at Q Games. Planet Tantal is under attack by fiendish aliens bent on harvesting the population's life force. Shake off the hypersleep and slash, smash, raid and rescue your way through hundreds of unique missions, all while unraveling. It feels like there should be something at the end after that, but I literally just lifted this from, I think, their website.
Yeah, the part that's probably missing that's
Oh,
unique to Stadia
I
is going
took
to be
this from
the.
I took this from Metacritic, and I didn't expand the summary, all while unraveling the mystery of the enigmatic keepers.
Those keepers, don't forget
Yeah,
those keepers. Yeah, it's also missing the Stadia unique feature, which is the state share. This is one of the games that launched with straight state share. So mid game, you just save a screenshot, make a link, share it with the community or your friends, and they can jump into your exact game mode. It was one of the first, if not the first, that launched with state share that I recall. Either way,
possibly, yeah.
Either way, it has it involved in it, of course. Yeah, Pixel Junk, continuation of the Pixel Junk series, a little bit different. It's procedurally generated worlds you jump into, save the people who live on the planet. It's got some interesting enemies who jump out on you, interesting crafting, level up skills and stuff. Beautiful art choice palette in it, like nice sun-baked kind of neon 80s retro wave vibe. I had a really good time playing it, but there was something for me with it, with procedurally generated planets. It felt void of a lot of activity for me.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed what I played, but it just felt like I was just wandering empty landscapes for a lot of the time. And I think that took away from the worlds feeling lived in that much. Basically, you only really came across enemies when you encountered a little generated settlement. And you had a cool lightsaber toy, which was fun for a little while, but then after a while, the game just got a bit repetitive. I felt it was almost like it wanted to be No Man's Sky, but there just wasn't enough around it to be that.
It's a roguelike. So things like you're meant to progress as you go through maps, you get more stuff, which makes it easier to take on the next maps. But then when you die, it's kind of procedurally generated. You kind of start all over again, sort of thing. But if it gets the thing is, them games kind of live and die on how replayable they are, because the kind of you need to nail, for me, the mechanics to make people want to go back and play through another procedure world or selection of worlds. But I'm just reading some of the reviews on Metacritic, and this is one I love. 0 out of 10. It is very original and fun. The graphics are very nice, and the gameplay is excellent.
Well, okay.
I'm guessing someone forgot to put the number in the review. I just found it funny.
It sounds like that would be a 10.
Yeah. But there is a handful of different things. And this one, some guy rated it 3 out of 10. An empty and repetitive game with rough gameplay. The graphics, the design, the music. It's all the visual selection. It's poor. But Metacritic, this is out of 49, so it's not great. User scores up to 6.1, so fans like a bit more than critics.
Yeah, I'd say a few of those points echo what I've said.
I do wonder sometimes with user score, with it being a Stadia exclusive, has it got the kind of fanboy thing behind it? So, because there's not that many user reviews, I think there's 28 user reviews, so a handful of diehard Stadia fans who back everything the platform does, regardless whether it's good or not. I can see just putting 10s in.
Yeah, I'm a Stadia fan, and
I'm a Stadia fan, but I prefer
say
the objective.
5 to 6 seemed to be fair based on what I played of it. It was very repetitive, like I said, empty worlds.
That seems to be where most of the critics are lying around. Of all the critic reviews, there's 1 positive, 5 mixed, and 3 negative, and the negatives tend to be 4s. So it's between a 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to another title that we actually played as part of this was our 2nd year anniversary stream, Young Souls, from 1p Games. 1p2p Games, sorry. Young Souls is a gorgeous 2D brawler meets rich story action RPG. Fight hordes of belligerent goblins, level up with hundreds of weapons and accessories, explore and journey between worlds as rebellious twins battle their way to save their foster father. This is one actually is due to come out Q4 2021, which is now on Steam.
Right, so imminent release.
Hopefully this episode goes live before that happens.
Well, we've told the people.
But yeah, Young Souls, your thoughts?
We had a great time. So obviously we'd had a couple of drinks at this point during our celebration stream, but the fans asked for it, the audience asked for it. We jumped in, we played Young Souls again, co-op. So we were side by side, couch co-op game. beautiful, like art style, gorgeous. Like it got a very cartoon comic book aesthetic to it. The characters very, very different from your traditional ones. They didn't hold back. They swore quite a lot. They were two. Was it brother and sister or sister and sister?
I think they're brother and sister.
Brother and sister, and it was just their banter back and forward was really fun, amusing. Their relationship with their stepfather was great, and then they threw us in the mix of like dungeons and goblins and wizards and spells, and the humor. If I remember, we laughed so many times at just like the humor we got out of I think when we fought one of the boss fights, the character would just cut the boss off mid speech and say, "Okay, we're going to fight or what?" And there was like loads of little just nuance.
It's very self aware, and it's kind of
Self-aware is a great way to describe it, but the gameplay was fun. It was like fast, frenetic. It reminded us a lot of when we played like Streets of Rage, just a little bit more faster pace, maybe.
I think I prefer this to Streets of Rage, where Streets of Rage is a straight up action brawler. This is the RPG elements and a bit more of a focus on story. I think appeals to me a bit more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But great, I had a great time with it. It ran super smooth. And it opened up into like a larger world where you could go from location to location as well for different settings and stuff. But yeah, definitely recommend Young Souls. Fun little take on it. Deep single player, well, not single player, co-op story driven. And yeah, I had a great time with it while we played.
Yeah, I think we played it in the right setting as well. Two friends, a couple of beers, sat down side by side playing the games together.
Yeah, I would agree.
Anyway, next, Submerged Hidden Depths. This is from Uppercut Games. Another one that is listed as coming soon to Steam. Exclusive to Google Stadia, Submerged Hidden Depths is a relaxing third-person exploration game set in a hauntingly beautiful world of water and ruins. Play as siblings, one determined to use her curse for good, the other determined not to let it destroy them. Navigate the tranquil blue waters on pounding white caps as you scour city ruins for the seeds of its salvation. Mysterious villages cling to the crumbling tips of skyscrapers, remnants of the drowned city below. Every time this word comes up, enigmatic creatures ride the wake as your boat breaks the waves, while deep below, lost treasures sparkle amongst the growing darkness.
The growing darkness, indeed.
I did give a quick look at this game. I didn't do any content for it. I did play this one briefly, and it just didn't grip me. I played for about an hour, and it's one of them. A game doesn't have like any sort of combat system, so it's purely just exploration, and just kind of found it just lacked something. It doesn't necessarily need to be combat. It just needed something to get its hooks in me.
Yeah, I've seen this game described as like Moana, the game, and unfortunately, it came out around the same time as Windbound.
Yeah,
which is very much also Moana, the game, where you have a boat and you surf around a very water-based archipelago with a bunch of islands, and you have to go and explore. This one obviously has the difference that the graphic style it's not leaning into like a block color palette, similar like Windbound and stuff does. Actually, similar to Wavetale. This is going for a little bit more of, I'd say, like a realistic 3D model design. But yeah, it's very, very similar. You've got your brother, you run around, you open journals, you find things, it unravels the story. It looks great in its own way, but at the same time, I think when I played it felt like I was just playing Windbound, but with a slightly different take on it.
With Windbound, you had it was more of a survival game, so you started off with pretty much nothing. You had to scavenge for stuff to build your raft to get around the world. It seems to be more of just a linear story experience that's very, very casual. I mean, if you want something just to kind of chill out and just slowly play your way through, and you're not really bothered about action focus, there could be something in there for you, but it's a not for me.
Yeah, it's again, it looks interesting with its puzzles and stuff, and like you said, if you're just looking for something relaxing, like methodically move around, solve some things, read some journals, learn about some characters, and like don't get me wrong, the art style is great. It's for me, it's very much falls into that AA category. It's that they've gone for a higher artistic choice, but I don't think the game benefits from it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Windbound and Windtail, is that what Windtail? Why has everything got wind in it all of a sudden?
Wavetale.
Wavetale, yeah, Windtail. That's another one. But yeah, it's again, I think it's one of the lesser titles I think we've got as an exclusive. But yeah, it depends what you're looking for. I'd say.
No,
Fun concept, not executed the best. I don't think.
Yeah, now to change things up completely, Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle from Bandai Namco. Prove your mettle in the world's biggest multiplayer Pac-Man experience, playing the 64-player matches and show everyone who's the leader of the pack. Invade other players' mazes, eat their dots and power-ups, even other players, and dominate the ranks. But watch out, viewers can vote on power-ups that can cause you or your opponents to stumble on the field and be eliminated from battle.
Can Pac-Man stumble if he doesn't have legs?
He does sometimes. He doesn't Smash.
In the
Smash he does.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what's to say about this game? It's Pac-Man Battle Royale.
Yeah, and it works.
It does. Like, it really does.
It works. It's similar to Super Bomberman, actually, which again was exclusive for a limited time on Stadia. It's now no longer, but yeah, similar concept. Just it's Pac-Man against other people in the real world with like a. Eventually, it boils down to you and one, two, three, four opponents in one area, and super fun. Yeah, cosmetics are in there. Yeah, what's more to say about it?
Starts off with like 64 standard Pac-Man boards, like smashed together, and you can transition between the boards. Over time, the boards disappear, so you need to try and get into other people's boards while basically competing for score. It's a fun game.
It's great fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
It doesn't have much more in terms of like levels or continuation outside the cosmetics, but if you're one for that arcade fun,
it doesn't need to. It's Pac-Man. It's like it is kind of what it is, and this is a Pac-Man.
Tetris 99. It's just take a classic game, simple instructions, up, down, left, and right. Have at it, and super fun.
Let's move on. Curve your shot and be the last player standing in this adorable frantic, fast-paced 8-player combat game that tests your speed and creativity. Outcast is a chaotic multiplayer combat game for you and up to 8 players. Battle your way across arenas and curve your shot to create. They've pretty much repeating themselves. I'm going to end with the description there. It's only on Stadia. It's Outcasters from Splash Damage. I literally ripped this off the website and they just like started repeating themselves a bit in like slightly reworded, but
they didn't use the word enigmatic, so
no, they didn't. Enigmatic. I got it right that time.
I mean, Outcasters. We've played it many times on this channel. The community has loved it in the past. It's an indie game, very much first and foremost. It's a couple of different mission levels. Now, when I'm talking about this game, we've had a great time with it, and it's fun when you play it. But I don't think this game does itself justice when it comes to the aftercare, and I think that is the problem. This is probably one of the only games on this list of exclusives that arguably has merited further expansion and new content, and it hasn't got any of it.
I'd say this is the game on this entire list. We've got one more to talk about that suffers the most for being on Stadia. That I think that Stadia's multiplayer player base is relatively small compared to other platforms. And unfortunately, this is a game that is entirely multiplayer. It is great fun, but if there's not enough people playing the game, the developers aren't going to make time, put the investment in to develop new content for it. This game would be... I think this game could absolutely explode if it went onto PlayStation, Xbox, on a Switch, and went cross-platform. This, I genuinely think, because it's really well polished, the gameplay is genuinely fun, this could be up there with like a Fall Guys, I think.
If this was like PlayStation Plus, this was a PlayStation Plus game for December. Don't get me wrong, millions would go, it's a daft kids game, it's not for me. But millions would try it out and go, you know what, this is exactly, and the like. But unfortunately, we can't let this one go without saying that it's still only got like the base 4 arenas. I think it's got. It's still got the same game modes. Like every time we've played it, we've theorized about what are the team death matches that could have, capture the flags, all these different styles, like proper battle royale, and the game's not changed since it launched, bar a couple of patch jobs here and there. And that's a detriment to the player base, which then in turn, like you've said there, it's all multiplayer. And unlike Pac-Man, when you add AI into Pac-Man, it can be aggressive. The ghosts in Pac-Man and the other Pac people are quite hard to get around because you're on a fixed grid. With Outcasts, the AI doesn't really work, and we've tried to play multiplayer a few times with our community, and the AI just unfortunately isn't up to scratch with real world people. It never will be probably, but the game suffers for that, and you're totally right. The lack of crossplay, because it's exclusive, it's kind of like it's a catch-22 scenario for Outcasters, I feel like, and unfortunately Splash Damage, rightly so, probably moved on to new things.
Yeah, it's a shame. I really hope this game is just like a timed exclusive, so it can find new life in new platforms, because there is a really good game in there. I really do believe that with this. Unfortunately, Stadia isn't doing them numbers to sustain it.
Yeah, completely right. I'd love to see it come back with crossplay on other platforms, just to really, really push that player base into the thousands, like millions, arguably. Like I said, if this goes on all cross-platform, and again, it's not overly complex for cross-platform. It's just little potato people running around with cosmetics on. So,
this is the sort of game where I think you could just feasibly just have on your PlayStation 5 one of them games that you just, like I do with like things like Overcooked. Yeah, it's just on there, and then because it's not going to take up much memory, so I'll just jump in whenever, every now and again, play a game for an hour.
Yeah, and again, it's got that with the cosmetics and the blank slate that the characters are. It just has such a wide opportunity for.
It's got character. The game,
yeah, it really does. Yeah, great art style, nice and fun. It's got a wacky, zany nature of it, akin to Fall Guys, like you were saying, but it just doesn't have the audience. And I think that brings it down, unfortunately, on our exclusive list at this moment in time. Because if I was to recommend it to someone, they'd be able to play it for a little while, but then the lack of players is going to take away from the quality of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's it. This is a game I'd love to recommend to someone, but I know the experience is going to be hampered by the fact there's just not enough people playing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, indeed. Unlike the next game.
Unlike the next game, which Shape Your Fears, Fear the Shapes. Enter the new creation from Tequila Works, a journey where you face your worst fears and are confronted with emotional impact of your actions. Set in a creepy, melancholic world, Guilt is an eerie story mixing fantasy and reality in a surrealist place where your nightmares become reality. Hide from terrible creatures such as Sharkhead and Eggplant. What was a giant slender man? Nightcrawler, yeah. And confront them as you find your way through the challenges of this wicked world. We have a full Let's Play series on this game because it's awesome.
Yeah, a Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
Because there's a spider creature that has a camera on its back.
Yeah, we had some
like
good
an old
fun.
cinema camera. Yeah. Guilt's great. And Guilt is the game, of course, from Tequila Works. Yeah, you play as a young girl, goes in search of her name? Cousin. Emily?
No, you got it wrong. It's Sally you play as. All the way through the Let's Play, you kept saying, like, oh, Emily, when it's like, no, Emily's the cousin, you're Sally.
Yeah. But, again, great art choice. One of the, if not, was it the first exclusive on Stadia? It launched, so, right? It launched back in 2019. Still exclusive, somehow.
I think there's been rumours that it might be coming to other platforms, but it's at the time of recording, it's still exclusive to Stadia.
Yeah, nice little story. It's kind of like, I don't want to say a baby's first horror game, but it's got some spooky elements, but it's not overly scary.
Yeah, it's not overly scary. It's one of them games where I think a younger audience might enjoy it as like, this is just kind of sort of a pseudo survival horror game exploring this world, where older audience is, we kind of started discussing more about the themes of it. Like, there's a lot of themes like with bullying and things of that nature. So this,
and it does describe itself as creepy and melancholic, not scary. I'd say it's closer to Little Nightmares, where it's more eerie than it is like shock horror, Resident Evil levels. But we just enjoyed like the variety of villains, the exploration, the puzzle solving mechanics in it, and it is a really like good story about, like you said, about bullying and family and other things that happen within this small town. We actually, throughout the game, we said it actually could have benefited from a bit more time to develop, because we almost wanted to know more about this world and more about the story. And I'd love one day to see a kind of sequel to dive back into this eerie world that they've created in Guild. But
this is actually the game that many outlets described as being locked behind. It's a shame that's kind of locked on Stadia's platforms. Like, when the reality is, I think we touched on at the start of the show, or it might be in the podcast, Stadia is open for anyone, and you could just use your Gmail account, open a Chrome browser, and play this game.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy it, or I don't think it's on Stadia Pro anymore, but
it was for the longest of times.
Yeah, it was for a while. It's one that's very much worth playing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would recommend. In fact, reflecting back on the whole list, I'd say they're all worth their salt in terms of checking them out, and it's great that I think all of them have been pro.
Yeah,
at some point, which makes sense if they're exclusive.
And sitting through and talking through them all, they're all very different games. But
that's what I really like. It is a mixture. It's not rinse and repeat of the same style titles. They all have their own pros and cons, their differences, their different lengths. Some are longer than others. Some you can play. Some are arcade. And I've enjoyed my time I've spent with them all. There's not one I would straight up turn down and say it's not worth checking out. And that's the benefit of pro and rotating the kind of the list around. The standout ones for me, though, at this moment in time is it's got to be Guilt. Definitely recommend Guilt. Young Souls and Wavetale, from what I've played so far, my top picks out of those.
I haven't played Wavetale, so I'm going to exclude that from the list. For me, it's probably Guilt, Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle. I'd like to say Outcasters, but with the player base, it's hard to recommend. I do like Young Souls, but I only played that 1 hour with you, and then I haven't really touched it again. So I think Guilt is the standout for me.
Yeah, ironically enough, the first and the longest running exclusive is still the benchmark for what you.
Wavetale has the potential to overtake it, though. I really think that's true, but
yeah, we'll have to see how it works out, and hopefully this continues. We get these exclusives. They don't really tell us about when they are coming until we see that trailer that says first on Stadia.
That's just Stadia. They don't tell you anything's coming until you suddenly here it is.
It is indeed. Yeah. I would love the audience to let us know what their favourite one is as well, because of course we have had other exclusives that are no longer Stadia specific as well, which we obviously won't touch on in this episode. This is as of now, these 8 are still exclusives, but there are some that have came and went, and they're nice little gets. It's nice to see. I think actually for developers, it's a great place to test your game's waters and see how it runs. It's almost like the Stadia audience is like a little beta test for these. Yeah,
I think with the Stadia audience it's a smaller audience and can be very vocal at times. Sometimes to our own detriment, admittedly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but because there isn't a million AAA titles on the platform, which is a detriment to the platform, but I think it gives indie developers a bit more room to breathe so they can put it on, and the Stadia fan base does get behind these games.
Oh yes,
we saw with Outcasters how much people are excited for that, and how much the player base really stuck by it for quite a while. And we've seen it with other things come at the platform. We always forget the name of this game that basically the Stadia audience pretty much convinced the developers to bring it to Stadia.
Sky Climbers,
yeah. But with that, that's all we have time for you this week. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon for notifications when all our great content goes live. Like I find out when our content goes live. Such as the Sound of Shade podcast every single Monday on YouTube and podcast service around the globe. Our first night live streams, or sometimes Friday night live streams. Actually, we're streaming tonight, aren't we?
This is Stadia's birthday day. At the time of this going on free feeds, it's Stadia's second birthday.
Yeah, so happy birthday to Stadia. Because we're recording this on Saturday the 13th, so it's I didn't even click on that. This is till just now that this is going live on Stadia's birthday. So happy birthday to everyone over at the Stadia team. Thank you very much for an awesome platform. You owe me cake.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's going to be a running joke, for as long as we're making content every year. If you've got a topic you want us to discuss, or you just want to join some awesome people having a chat, head over to our Discord. There's a link in the description. And with that, I've been Richie.
I've been exclusive to the Helix Cloud Games channel, Chris.
That's not true. You've been on other people's content before.
DLC.
Yeah, you're DLC.
Add-on.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Thank you very much for watching. Quest completed.